Hey friends, it's Alex. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm going to be sharing some 5-star predictions that I have from books on my shelves. You can see them here. So I have 5-star predictions, and on top of that I sort of have like a loose aim to try and actually read some of them this year. I feel like this year I've been reading a lot of like my books that I've had a really long time, and I've been kind of prioritising ones that I don't think I'm gonna like or that aren't my thing anymore, just because I want to give them a chance before I unhaul them. But that's been resulting in not many 5-star reads so far this year, so I feel like if I prioritise these, hopefully they are 5 stars like I'm thinking, and then I will get some 5-star reads. Fingers crossed. So it's not like a set aim I have, like I have to read them within the next 12 months, but it would be nice to. So hopefully I get to them. But I'll just go from just the one that's there first. So first up I have The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez, I think that's how it's said. I love this cover first of all. And then I picked this up because I heard a lot of people talking about it, and everyone says it's very different than like other fantasy books, and I've just been really enjoying books that are a bit different lately, a bit more unique, so I thought I would check this one out. I kind of just, when I first bought it, I kind of just went off those vibes of what people were saying about it. I didn't really know much about what the actual plot was, but I've since read the synopsis and I will read you that now. The people suffer under the centuries-long rule of the Moon Throne. The royal family, the despotic emperor and his monstrous sons, the Three Terrors, hold the countryside in their choking grip. They bleed the land and oppress the citizens with the frightful powers they inherited from the god locked under their palace. But that god cannot be contained forever. With the aid of Jun, a guard broken by his guilt-stricken past, and Kima, an outcast fighting for his future, the god escapes from her royal captivity and flees from her own children, the triplet terrors who would drag her back to her unholy prison. And so it is that she embarks with her young companions on a 5-day pilgrimage in search of freedom and a way to end the Moon Throne forever. The journey ahead will be more dangerous than any of them could have imagined. And I'm just very intrigued. And I have high hopes. But I've never read anything by this author, so I don't have anything to base that on other than the fact that other people like it and it's a bit different apparently. So I really hope this one's 5 stars, and I think it has the potential to be, but I don't have any frame of reference with like the author's writing or anything to go off, so this one's a bit more like, I'm not sure but I hope. Next up I have a sci-fi, and that is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. In June I read To Be Taught If Fortunate, which was my first Becky Chambers book, and that was 5 stars, and I loved it, and I loved the writing, like the way it was written was just so up my alley right now. So I've had this for quite a while now, many years, and I've always wanted to pick it up. I've always heard really good things, I've just never got around to it, but now that I've read a Becky Chambers and I loved it, I have very, very high expectations for this one. I'm really looking forward to diving into it now, and I definitely want to try and get to this one as soon as possible. But I'll read you the synopsis of this one as well. When Rosemary Harper joins the crew of the Wayfarer, she isn't expecting much. The Wayfarer, a patched-up ship that's seen better days, offers her everything she could possibly want. A small, quiet spot to call home for a while, adventure in far-off corners of the galaxy, and distance from her troubled past. But Rosemary gets more than she bargained for with the Wayfarer. The crew is a mishmash of species and personalities, from Sissix, the friendly reptilian pilot, to Kizzy and Jenkins, the constantly sparring engineers who keep the ship running. Life on board is chaotic, but more or less peaceful, exactly what Rosemary wants. Until the crew are offered the job of a lifetime, the chance to build a hyperspace tunnel to a distant planet. They'll earn enough money to live comfortably for years, if they survive the long trip through war-torn space without endangering any of the fragile alliances that keep the galaxy peaceful. But Rosemary isn't the only person on board with secrets to hide, and the crew will discover that space may be vast, but spaceships are very small indeed. And one of my favourite things about To Be Taught If Fortunate was the setting and the fact that it was just the 4 characters on a spaceship, completely isolated because they were in space and they had no contact with anyone else pretty much. It was just the 4 of them, and I just loved that dynamic. And it sounds like this might have a similar dynamic, hopefully, at least through most of it. So I'm very keen to get to this one, hopefully soon, but I say that for every book, and I have so many, it just, some of them I get to soon and some of them sit there for 12 years. Next up I have a contemporary, which I enjoy the occasional contemporary nowadays, but it's very much not my genre anymore, and that one is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, or Rebecca F. Kuang as she is known for this one. R.F. Kuang on some of her other books. I have read some books by Rebecca Kuang before, but unlike with Becky Chambers, I have not given any of them 5 stars. I read The Poppy War and I didn't really super love it. I think I gave it like, I can't remember, it was years ago now, but it must have been around 2 or 3 stars maybe. It just wasn't for me. And then I read Babel this year and I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed that one. And so this, first of all, the synopsis and the plot just sounds so interesting to me. And second of all, we're going up, and the only way up from 4 is 5, so right? But I'll read you the synopsis of this one as well. This is one hell of a story, it's just not hers to tell. When failed writer June Hayward witnesses her rival Athena Liu die in a freak accident, she sees her opportunity and takes it. So what if it means stealing Athena's final manuscript? So what if it means borrowing her identity? And so what if the first lie is only the beginning? Finally, June has the fame she always deserved, but someone is about to expose her. What happens next is entirely everyone else's fault. So from what I know, this one talks a lot on like race and I think cultural appropriation, and I just think that'll be interesting. I thought it was well done in Babel as well, so I'm looking forward to checking this one out. I also have the audiobook saved on Everand, so I will probably listen to this one when I get to it, assuming I get on with a narrator. But yeah, since I've got the audiobook I should be able to get to this one soon, so definitely should be read this year. So going back to fantasy now, which is my favourite genre, so that's where I'm going to look for 5-star predictions. I have Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. I am reasonably confident about this one. I adore the Amazon Prime show. I can never, every time I talk about the show, I can never remember which streaming service it's on. I adore the Amazon Prime show. It is one of my favourite shows ever. I have rewatched it so many times, and I'm pretty sure that like the screenplay, the script was like had input from Neil Gaiman. If not, that he just wrote it entirely. I'm not 100% sure. But I imagine then that it would stick fairly closely to the book, so I feel like I'm going to really enjoy this one. I just love the humour in the series, and I imagine that that will be in the book as well. So according to the Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Agnes Nutter, which, the world's only totally reliable guide to the future, written in 1655 before she exploded, the world will end on a Saturday, next Saturday in fact, just after tea. People have been predicting the end of the world almost from its very beginning, so it's only natural to be sceptical when a new date is set for Judgment Day. This time though, the armies of good and evil really do appear to be massing. The 4 bikers of the apocalypse are hitting the road, but both angels and demons, well, one fast-living demon and a somewhat fussy angel, would quite like the rapture not to happen. Oh, and someone seems to have misplaced the Antichrist. ... So yeah, I would be shocked if this wasn't 5 stars, to be honest. And again, I have this one on audiobook. My audiobook, I've talked about this in a few videos recently, and I've said this in every video, but my audiobook that I have is narrated by David Tennant and Michael Sheen, who play the 2 main characters in the Amazon show. So I just feel like the audiobook is going to be a great time. I'm planning to like read along while I listen and do like an immersion read, because I really want to make sure I am focusing and taking everything in, because I love this story so much and I just want to fully absorb the book version. But yeah, this will be happening this year definitely, because this is on our fantasy bingo TBR for the year, so I have to read this one this year. And then last but not least, another fantasy, another one that I feel like I can be reasonably sure will be 5 stars, and that is The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. Tolkien is my favourite author. The Lord of the Rings is my favourite series. Like, I have so many books that I love and like, oh yeah, it's one of my favourites. This Tolkien is like number one, my favourite. I adore his writing, and a lot of the things that people complain about, like about how descriptive and slow his writing is, that is why I love it. I just love it so much. I get so immersed in his worlds. Yeah, love it. So I am almost certain this will be a 5 stars. However, this is the one I am least confident that I will get to within the next year, because I want to reread The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and then The Lord of the Rings and then this. So yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get to this one, but I do genuinely think it will be a 5-star read, because it's Tolkien. How can it not be? So as far as I know, this is set before The Lord of the Rings, but everyone you ask will say to read this after The Lord of the Rings. So I'll read you the synopsis. The Silmarilli were 3 perfect jewels fashioned by Fëanor, most gifted of the elves, and within them was imprisoned the last light of the 2 trees of Valinor. When the Dark Lord Morgoth stole the jewels and set them within an iron crown in the impenetrable fortress of Angband, Fëanor and his kindred took up arms against the great enemy and waged a long and terrible war to recover them. The Silmarillion tells the story of the rebellion by Fëanor's allies against the gods, their exile from Valinor and return to Middle-earth. It is the history of the heroic First Age in Tolkien's world, the ancient drama long before the time of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. So this is set in the First Age of Middle-earth. Lord of the Rings is set in the Third Age of Middle-earth. And I've been meaning to read this for years. And to be quite honest, I am a bit intimidated by it. I think I'm going to love it, but I have heard it's a bit of a tricky read. Yeah, I've been putting it off a little bit, but I do want to reread The Hobbit. I'm going to try and read it at the same time as my partner, and he's going to read it for the first time. So I'm just kind of waiting for him to be in the mood for it. And then I'm going to reread Lord of the Rings. Probably not with my partner, because I don't think he fancies that quite yet. And then I want to finally get to this. It would be something I'd like to do maybe within the next 2 or 3 years, maybe. Just to really give myself time to get around to it, not put too much pressure on myself. But I do really, really want to read it. And I genuinely do think I'm going to love it, just because Tolkien's writing is just so perfect for me. So those are all my 5-star predictions. I'm hoping that I'm right for all of them. I think the one I'm maybe least confident about is The Spear Cuts Through Water, and then the second least is Yellowface, and then The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, Good Omens and The Silmarillion I'm fairly confident about, because I have loved either the story or other stories by the same author/authors. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. Let me know if you've read any of these and what your thoughts are, and I'll see you in my next video. That was in the wrong order. Bye.